saw a bunch of beautiful tree collars made out of wood, and I really wanted to make one for a lot less money, so I got some supplies and got started. I got these 4 pieces of wood that measured perfectly to fit around my tree in a square shape, and I had them cut in store to save some time. I also got these trim pieces for clean edges that we also cut in store, and then these smaller pieces that Dylan cut to size to give the finished product a fluted look that will work really well in our living room. The first thing I did was stain all of the wood pieces. I used special walnut because it's one of my favorites, and I stained it all ahead of time because it would be difficult to afterwards with the fluted look. And we decided to use nails and brackets instead of glue so that the stain wouldn't affect the outcome of it sticking. You can also use pre-stain and sealant for this if you want to, which we usually do for all of our wood projects, but since ours had such small wood pieces and there won't be a real tree or any sort of liquid around it, we opted to just use the stain to save time. Once the stain had all dried and we wiped away any excess, we got to building. We want this to be somewhat storable when we're not using it, so we decided to build it in 2 pieces that would have connecting pieces instead of one big square. So we started by connecting 2 of the large rectangular wood pieces together at a 90-degree angle, and we repeated this twice so we would have 2 pieces. We used our nail gun and eventually added some small brackets as well for extra stability. Then it was time to put on the first piece of trim, and we made sure that the trim was a little bit longer than the pieces of wood. We did this because we want it to go all the way to the end, and you can see the side of the wood piece before we put the fluting on. And because we opted to not miter the ends of the wood just to save time, we wanted to make sure it still looked seamless. Once the trim was on, we went ahead and started attaching the fluted look wood pieces, and we wanted there to be a gap between them, so we used the depth of those wood pieces as a guide to know where we should put the next piece with our nail gun. We did this all the way around the wood until it was filled, and then we went ahead and added the second trim piece. We left the second trim piece for last on top in the event that there was any human error and not all of the pieces were correct, so that we would still make sure that everything fit. Then we had our 2 halves to our square. From there, all we had to do is find a way to temporarily put them together when they are under our tree, so we used regular tree colors as inspiration. The solution that we came up with was using door hinges with a metal bar to go through them to hold the sides together. We would use a half of a hinge for this, and we would put 2 of them on one piece of wood and then 1 on the other side in between. Then we got this metal rod and we cut it to the size that we needed, and then we bended the top of the metal rod so that it wouldn't fall through, and in the end it functioned just like this. We did this 2 times because there were 2 connection points of each end of each half of our finished product. Once we put the 2 pieces together under a tree, it turned out like this. I think this is such a fun DIY that you could customize in any way that you want. Basically, as long as you have the 4 wood pieces, the hinges, and the metal rod, you could customize the outside in any way that matches your style. We opted for this fluted type of look, but you could also paint it a solid color or a design. You could cover it in fabric. The possibilities are endless. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial video, and I'll be back next week for some more design stuff.